What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
Earthquakes! Earthquakes! We had a couple earthquakes in the desert in California, I should say, the past few days, past week. Growing up out here, I've felt earthquakes my entire life. Moved to San Diego in my 20s, felt a couple earthquakes in San Diego, but not nearly as many as when I lived in the Coachella Valley. Now that I am back, the earthquakes are back. Kind of miss the earthquakes. Kind of nice. The reality of the situation is that I've been out here my entire life. The whole getting your earthquake bag together, is kind of an interesting thing because, well, first off, the earthquakes that happened, they were up not Northern California, but north of here. It's not, north of LA, kind of between, in a way, LA, kind of catty corner. If you were to draw a line from Las Vegas left and then up from LA, kind of that's where the earthquakes, these more recent ones, were centered. So it wasn't like, you could feel them. It shook stuff, but nothing fell down. Like, building codes are like a reason. There's a reason why government regulations are important in a lot of things, because without government regulations, people could just build buildings however they wanted to, and their ability to withstand earthquakes probably would not be as likely if people could just do whatever the fuck they wanted to do. So these earthquakes, not a lot of damage. Now, granted, they probably more damage up where the earthquakes happened. I do live by a fault line. The San Andreas fault line runs basically the whole length of the valley, and then up, I think once it gets past like Riverside, it goes kind of shoots up north. But the whole mountain range to the northeast of the valley that you see is all, I think it's created by the fault line, the San Andreas fault line. And there's a little oasis that you can go to see the fault line and take pictures. Kind of just, it's an oasis. It's out in the middle of the desert, and then there's water and palm trees and a lot of vegetation just kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So I like earthquakes. They don't scare me at all. Even if there was a big earthquake, it's not going to scare me. Let's say there's a giant earthquake and things start falling down. First off, okay, maybe it shuts down some roads. I've seen what happens when roads get shut down in the valley. When we had some rain, if we didn't have these washes that we have, rain would just wipe out everything, but it does wipe out certain roads when we get flash flooding. And seeing what happens to the traffic and to cars when there's roads down in the valley, like I could see, with traffic jams, it only takes a few traffic jams where you're not able to clear the cars out of the way for roads to just get shut down. So it's like, I don't understand. And during an earthquake, I don't understand where you're going to go, because the earth happened. Let's say it's the epicenter is here in the desert. Then LA is going to have problem. Where are you going to drive to? You're just going to drive out of the state to where? For what? I don't understand what the idea of having some cans of food and water. I understand if the water gets shut off and can't, but it's like, I don't understand going somewhere. Like, if shit were going to go down, you're probably just going to hunker down wherever you live and just hopefully things get back online. We're not that cut off from everything to where, the 10 freeway, if that gets shut down, then it's going to be tougher. But there's vehicles that get, military vehicles that can go off road. So if the asphalt is cracked, there's vehicles that should still be able to bring in supplies, and there's people that work on roads that can fix roads. I don't know. There's a lot of things in place to kind of fix situations when they go bad. Now, I understand if you're in a skyscraper and there's an earthquake and that shit falls down, there's some trouble there, but there's no skyscrapers in the desert. Maybe you live in a shitty old house that was built before, that's grandfathered in, where it was built by somebody that was trying to escape and just moved to the desert out in the middle of nowhere. Like, not that long ago, the valley didn't have a lot of things. It was just people just with houses in just a desert. So I don't know. It doesn't really scare me. Like, growing up, Tremors was my favorite horror movie. I mean, it's just a classic movie in general. Classic Kevin Bacon. But giant worms under the ground that cause the earthquakes, you know, it's a fun premise when you grow up in a desert that looks very similar to the small town. I mean, I didn't grow up in a small town like that, but you watch Tremors, and that small town could easily be like, you know, out in Coachella or up in like the high desert in Joshua Tree or whatever, or even Desert Hot Springs. It's just very similar surroundings to what I'm used to. So I don't know, but these earthquakes I didn't really feel. The first one that happened in the morning, I was out driving, and I was at a stoplight actually, and I was just it was early in driving, so you know, I didn't have the sea legs. Usually when I'm done driving for the day, if I drive along a lot amount of time, you get like sea legs, like you can still feel like you're in the car driving. That's what it felt like at the stop sign. And I tried to look at the stoplights that I was parked at the intersection to see if they were swaying, because I felt it. I felt the earthquake, but it wasn't anything big. The next one happened. I was home, and I was out in the patio smoking a joint while I was cooking dinner, and I felt it starting to rock, and I really just kind of enjoyed the earth moving for a little bit, because it's like a very much a rolling feeling. Nothing crazy, no real jolting or shaking. The strongest, craziest earthquake that I was in, I was a child, and it wasn't in Southern California. It was when I was visiting a friend and his family in Hawaii, and I was on the Hilo side, the tropical side of the Big Island, and there was a big earthquake, and shit fell off the wall. It was like it shook the whole house. Things were falling off the wall. It was the craziest earthquake ever. And the thing when you're in Hawaii, on the Hawaiian Islands, and you feel an earthquake, you're feeling the volcano that created that land that you're on. You're feeling that volcano get angry, right? Like that volcano can then spit lava and like fumes and all kinds of shit and just destroy the island. And we're just little people just on this island while it decides to shake. So completely different feeling than being in Southern California, where a fault line like 100 miles away goes off, and like a town, I get it, a small town, there's not a whole lot. I don't think there's a whole lot going on in Ridgecrest. But, you know, something like that happened in LA, which if the fault line out here in San Andreas, I would imagine would affect, like if there was a big earthquake that was centered out here, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. I don't really care. Like if a big like catastrophe, like I'm less scared of an earthquake, like the fires that happen, because that can just devastate. That can just burn up a whole, like all of the houses, and that just devastates stuff. Like having some broken walls and cracks here and there, that's okay. It gives you a little character, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. This earthquake, just earthquakes everywhere. It was interesting, though, to see all of the reactions when these earthquakes happen to, like, pool parties out in Palm Springs, to Las Vegas during International Fight Week, where Rashad Evans is getting his trophy for the Hall of Fame, being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and he's giving his speech. Earthquake happens then. But it's definitely fun to watch people overreact with earthquakes. It's like, what are you going to do? Really? Like, it's so easy. There's so many people that are just not going to survive when shit actually goes down. But it'll be fun to watch, I guess. But that's it. That's my thoughts on earthquakes. I don't know. They're interesting. Go watch Tremors. It bring a whole new meaning to feelings to Tremors if you've experienced an earthquake. But that's it for this episode. New episodes daily. Subscribe on IGTV and everywhere else podcasts are found. Go buy my artwork at InspiredDisorder.com and save 10% with coupon code INSPIRED at Ray Taylor for me on all social media. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace Out!